why I wrote this book and what is in this book, Hallmarks of Design. Well, my book relates to the design argument. You might have heard that phrase before, the design argument. It's a very simple concept because it means design reveals a designer. If you were to look at a spacecraft like the Hubble Space Telescope, or a satellite, an Earth observation satellite, you looked at the precision design of hundreds of components fitting together, that gives you an overwhelming feeling that there must be a designer of that system. I know this from personal experience because I worked for the European Space Agency for over 5 years. I worked a little bit on the Hubble Space Telescope, and I also worked on the EnviSat satellite, an Earth observation satellite. And I was the designer of the solar array deployment mechanism. Now, when I worked for that particular project, I was warned that this was the largest civilian satellite in the world. It's so big, it would not fit inside this hall. It was over 30 meters in length. Satellites are very big. And the reason I was warned about this large satellite is because no one knew how to design the solar array, because there were no ships in the world that could deploy the solar array. And that's when I really learned that design does not happen by chance. In fact, I was called in by the project manager for EnviSat, and he said, "Stuart, do you realize there is only one solar array on this satellite?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, I'm designing the solar array." And he said, "Do you realize the whole satellite cost 1.6 billion pounds?" And I said, "I didn't realize that bit." Then he said, "Thirdly, do you realize that if your solar array does not deploy within 10 minutes of launch, after launch, then the whole mission is dead?" And I said, "I didn't realize that." And he said, "Well, if you could remember that for the rest of the project, I would really appreciate that." When you learn design in universities, no one teaches you about the emotion and the big risks and dangers in engineering design. I remember on launch day, I was absolutely terrified, and this was in 2002 when EnviSat did actually work. I was extremely happy and relieved. So design is a very emotional activity. I sometimes wonder about the emotion of God when he created the world and the universe. So I wrote Hallmarks of Design in 2000, and it's had lots of editions. There's a Dutch edition, a Russian edition. And in that book, there are 6 particular hallmarks of design, which I'll go through. But just briefly, my motivation for writing the book, like Andy, I've written a lot of scientific papers, not quite as many as Andy, 140 papers, although all of my papers relate to design in engineering and also the natural world. And everything that I've learned about design tells me that it doesn't happen by chance. So it's very related to the design argument. I also have 7 patents on irreducible mechanisms that cannot evolve step by step. And I also see irreducible design in the natural world as well. And I wanted to say something about that in that book. Thirdly, I meet many academics, including biologists who aren't Christians, who either doubt evolution or think it's rubbish. And to me, this is absolutely fascinating, because when you look at the media, you have the impression that academia accepts evolution as a fact, but that is just simply not the case. That's what I found very surprising working in academia. Those academics will only admit it in private. They won't say it to the press themselves, but they admit it to me. Another motivation is that many evolutionists don't understand design. I've read books by Richard Dawkins, and it's so clear to me when he says the world is badly designed or wasn't designed. He doesn't actually know anything about design. if he was on my first year design course, he would utterly fail because he just knows nothing about design. So that was a great motivation to write as well. But then, of course, there's the Bible. Romans 1:20 says, God's attributes are clearly seen in the natural world. So I'll just go through the 6 hallmarks of design, which I write about in my book. The first one is irreducible mechanisms. The creationists have written about this. An irreducible mechanism is a mechanism that cannot evolve step by step. You need an intelligent designer to put everything together in one go. I often say to my students, if you want to be good designers, don't try and evolve an engineering system, or you'll get nowhere, you'll produce rubbish. Put lots of things together in the right way, in a clever way, and you'll produce clever things. For EnviSat, that EnviSat satellite, by the way, EnviSat was a very appropriate word for the satellite I worked on, this world's biggest civilian satellite, because it was bigger than every satellite made by NASA and the Americans. They were very envious, so the nickname was EnviSat, or EnviSat for short. When I speak in America, I really explain this in some detail. They cannot believe that the Europeans made something bigger than the Americans. But for this satellite, I designed and invented a double-action worm gear set, which has a world patent on it. And it could not be evolved. It had to be invented, lots of parts put together simultaneously. And I also see that in the natural world as well. In fact, in your knee joint, you have an irreducible mechanism, which I will explain. Because if you have a 4-bar mechanism, you can see here parallelogram mechanism. If you get your Lego Technic, if you invert that, you end up with an inverted parallelogram, and that's what you have inside of your knees. The black parts are the cruciate ligaments. They're crossed. They're called cruciate because they're crossed. The lighter gray parts are represented by your bones. So inside your knee, you have this 4-bar mechanism. Your bones roll like a cam, but your ligaments form a beautiful mechanism. And I've had projects producing bio-inspired designs based on that beautiful 4-bar mechanism. Every engineer knows that you cannot evolve that step by step because you need all 4 bars and all 4 links in place simultaneously. You cannot evolve a 4-bar mechanism. If you ever meet Richard Dawkins, tell him he's walking on 2 irreducible mechanisms. He cannot run away from the evidence. But not only that, in my group, we've also looked at other 4-bar mechanisms in the natural world. We've looked at the sling jaw wrasse. The sling jaw wrasse has a jaw which comes out like a parallelogram mechanism like this, and its mouth can shoot out to collect food or to kill prey. And once again, it's a 4-bar mechanism that cannot evolve by chance. When my researchers did work on that area, we looked up scientific papers on so-called fish evolution. We found one particular paper in the Royal Society from one of the top researchers who believes in evolution, but he made a couple of confessions in his paper on fish evolution. So when he got to the conclusion, this is what he said: several unusual breakthroughs in skull function characterize the evolution of the jaws of these fish. Now, that's what he said. Now, I write a lot of papers myself, so I can interpret what he means. When he says several unusual breakthroughs in skull function characterize evolution, what he means is I haven't got a clue how this skull evolved by chance. Later on, he goes on to say the evolution of these fishes is occasionally punctuated by major transitions in engineering design, which is the most incredible admission. I just had to blink when I read that, either he was converted in the space of 2 paragraphs, which is probably not likely, or he was making a confession that these things do look as though they were designed. Now, one of the things you often hear in the media, Richard Dawkins will often say this, that creationists do not publish papers. You often hear that in the media. Ironically, it's Richard Dawkins who's never published anything on design in the natural world or engineering. Both Andy and myself, we have well over 300 scientific papers between us. Many of those deal with design in the natural world, not just design. I've published many papers on the human knee joint, including the last few years, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, the top mechanical journal in the world, and also a journal paper on that sling jaw RAS mechanism. So creationists do publish quality work. So irreducible mechanisms, that is an important hallmark of design that we see in the natural world. The second hallmark I talk about in my book is complete optimum design. And this is one I've discussed with many biologists, actually. It's remarkable. When you look at the natural world, you don't see semi-evolved creatures. Everything is optimal design. In a spacecraft, we had to optimally design every single part so the spacecraft would be reliable and work. For the gearbox, which I mentioned, the double action worm gearbox, I had to develop a very long efficiency equation, and it was like a mother of all equations, about 150 terms in that equation, so that we could do precise planning and precise design. I sometimes joke that there are 2 people in the world who understand that equation. One is myself for writing it, and the other is the person who reviewed it in a journal, although I'm not sure actually he understood the equation. But design is full of precision and optimal design. In the world, there are several thousand types of bird, species of bird, and yet every single one of them is an optimal design. And if you look at the owl family, or the hummingbird family, the bird of prey family, every family of birds is optimal. There's no semi-evolved birds. I've had a Royal Academy grant to look at the design of bird wings and bird feathers, and always you see optimal design. Even if you look in the fossil record, it's supposedly ancient birds or feathers like Archaeopteryx. They are fully optimized birds. You just don't see anything which is on its way to evolving. And in the last couple of years, I've published papers on the design of bird wings. In fact, I published one last year in the States, and one is due to appear in a couple of weeks' time later in November in the International Journal of Micro-Air Vehicles. That one's on, again, the effect of fall-bar mechanisms in the wings of birds. So in the natural world, we see complete optimum design. A third hallmark I talk about in my book is added beauty. This is quite a good building to talk about this, because there's a lot of added beauty in this building. I love the carvings and the shapes. And this is particularly one hallmark which I've pioneered in the creationist community, and lots of other people are taking up this idea of added beauty. Beauty is a great problem to atheism and the theory of evolution. If you look at a beautiful building like this building or other buildings in Edinburgh, what you see is beauty for beauty's sake. These carvings at the top of the column, they don't make the column stronger. There's no physical function for those carvings. They are there for the sake of beauty. It's intricacy for the sake of beauty. Now, when you look at added beauty, it's a great evidence for design, because how do you explain intricacy when it has no physical function? And when you look in architecture and engineering, I teach this last week, I was teaching at Bristol University how to design beautiful alloy wheels for cars. So I was teaching aesthetics to my students. And it takes intelligence to produce beauty for beauty's sake. Charles Darwin was really worried by the concept of beauty for beauty's sake. He said it made him feel sick because he couldn't explain it through evolution. But in the natural world, we see this beauty for beauty's sake. One of the bird feathers I've studied in the lab and produced papers for is the peacock tail feather. The peacock tail feather is beauty for beauty's sake. It doesn't make the peacock fly better, it flies worse. Doesn't camouflage it, it makes it conspicuous for predators. It's a hindrance, it's beauty for beauty's sake. And of course, it's used in the courtship ritual, but you don't need outstanding beauty in a peacock for the courtship ritual. Lots of animals just growl and grunt at each other. You don't have to have that amazing beauty. And the peacock tail feather, with its bright colors and patterns, its ellipses, it's an incredible example of beauty. It takes a lot of information in the genome to create that beauty. The peacock colors are produced by thin film interference. They're not pigment colors like clothes, but structural, very pure structural colors with a deep luster and also iridescent, changing with the angle of view. Because the peacock, it's actually a transparent material like keratin, like in the nail, but because the layers are so thin, comparable with the wavelength of colored light around a micron, that when the light hits the surface, you get structural interference, you get these brilliant colors, and you have these tiny segments, thousands and thousands of tiny segments with different colors, so you get a digital pattern. It's an astounding artifact of beauty, but there are also subtle features in there as well. If you look at a peacock feather, you don't see a stem in the top of the pattern. And the reason for that is the barbs splay outwards and join at the top, so you don't have a stem at the top. It's a very complicated thing. But why is it that there's no stem in the top? Because it's slightly more aesthetically pleasing when you don't have the stem going right through the pattern. You need a degree in art to appreciate the fine details of beauty in the peacock feather. And the peacock creates a huge headache for the evolutionists and the atheists, because firstly, why should a peahen, that's the female peafowl, the peacock is the male peafowl, why should the peahen select beauty? Why not select something ugly? It's really hard for the evolutionists to say that birds can appreciate beauty and select beauty. Some evolutionists have argued that a female peafowl, the peahen, associates beauty with health. But why should an animal say that's beautiful, so therefore it's healthy? How can they make that kind of deduction? And many evolutionists have said that's a nonsense to think that. And in any case, the beauty of the peacock feather is an irreducible structure. So beauty is a great evidence for design. So I talk about the peacock feather in my book. I also talk about bird song as well. Some birds are what's called songbirds, not all birds. Often, many of the darker colored birds are songbirds, like blackbirds and robins and nightingales and thrushes. And sadly, today we don't stop to listen to the songbirds. But if you listen carefully, you realize they sing very beautiful songs. In fact, if you listen to a songbird several times in a week, you'll notice they're singing the same songs. They're not singing random notes. They're singing, they have a repertoire of songs. Nightingale has up to 300 songs in its repertoire. And if you listen carefully, it repeats them with precision. It has the same songs it brings out. And the musicality of bird songs is just incredible. You need a degree in music to appreciate what songbirds can do. They sing with melody. They sing in a particular key signature. They're not random notes, but you can form a key signature and also a time signature. And there's also musical structure with what's called consonant intervals, nice sounding intervals. And it's a real problem because according to evolution, male songbirds will sing beautiful songs to frighten away rivals. So beauty is meant to be a frightening thing, which is a completely ridiculous concept. Just to illustrate, apparently a wood pewee in the United States sings this song. In that song, there are 4 phrases, and they're all related. This is the first. This is the second. That was the second. Then the third, which is a repeat of the first, and then the final. Now, if you have a degree in music, you would point out that that is very similar to the structure of J.S. Bach and Mozart. Just to point out, the last phrase finishes with it's called finality on a first-year music degree. That's a major third. That's how you finish a piece of music. Many birds will finish a piece of music with a major third or a major fourth, like that. And so that was in E-flat major. It had a time signature. It had a key signature. It finished with finality. There were even appropriate intervals connecting each of those individual phrases, things that you could only know if you had a degree in music. If you were to show that piece of music to a musicologist and say who composed that, they'd say that could be J.S. Bach, it could be Mozart. If you then said it's the wood pewee, they will look very confused because they know I had a degree or anything. To me, birdsong, personally, I think that's one of the most wonderful evidences of design. And that particular chapter in my book was the one I enjoyed the most. I have published a paper with the Institute of Physics on the structural coloring of the peacock feather. Well, there are 3 hallmarks of design. The 4th one I write about in my book is called extreme similarity. And this is to do with common design. In the natural world, we see a lot of common design. And if you look in a book on evolution, it will say, because of common design, the eye, or similarities between apes and humans, therefore, that must be an evidence of evolution. But there's a big problem with that claim and that argument, and that is common design is exactly what you would expect from a common designer. I teach my students that if a nut and bolt works well in a bicycle and a pram and a car, it's going to work well in a train and lots of other things. And if you're a good designer, you do common design. So those books on evolution, what they should be saying is that common design can be seen one of 2 ways. It can be seen as intelligent design, or it the common design argument. The children are misled because they're...
Hi, Chris. I'm stopping the stream a little bit.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, I was just joining in here. Go ahead. I'm enjoying what you're playing there, bud. How you doing tonight, Antangelo?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. John gave me the advice not to stop the stream a little bit in order not to be shut down. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I get flagged doing commentary on it. I don't know how that. I've never. I don't post a lot of videos, so I've never been flagged, but I've heard a lot of stories. Hey, did you get flagged for that time that you did the where you were doing the same time that Godless Engineer was doing his stream?
Yes. He actually he denounced me and then he took it back. So
so you didn't get a strike or anything?
No.
Good deal. Great. Okay, I'm making sure. Yeah, they're sneaky. Like he was like, I don't know if I should do it or not, but he wanted to do it. But I guess in hindsight, he probably figured that was kind of a douchebag thing to do.
Yeah, last time I was my stream was stopped because it went over an hour without commenting or stopping it, and but then right afterwards I was able to continue to stream normally. So that didn't give me a strike.
Right. Well, that's good. So you've never had a strike on your channel then, right?
Right now I have no strike. No.
Good. Because pretty soon, man, especially if Trump loses, the way they're going, I'm afraid that they're going to try to push a lot of they're going to try to do a lot of weird things on YouTube if they get a chance. They'll be shutting down anything to do with anything they can try to pin on. And even like I was the Rage said something about this today. Knock did that he got flagged and he didn't fight his strike, and he probably should have, because no matter what the topic is you should have freedom of speech. That's what YouTube's all about, and people come here for that. So if I don't know if they're wanting to go the way of like Netflix or something, but I don't know what they're trying to do, man. But it's weird if they're wanting to get,
Well, they say that the Democrats are winning. They are in front of Trump. So we don't know, of course, if that is true. I think in 2016 it was the same, that the news media was saying that Hillary Clinton was in front of Trump, and then finally he won the election. So we don't know this year.
Well, the thing is, the polls are really off in a lot of places, and But as far as the actual in the states that he won a lot of the states that he did. And a couple of them he probably shouldn't have won, but he did by a very close margin. So he's going to need the same turnout and probably a little bit more, because they're pretty amped up on the Democratic side. So he's going to need a strong turnout. But I think he's got a better chance to win Pennsylvania than a lot of people think, and I think that might be the state it comes down to, because I think he'll carry Florida, and I believe he'll carry Ohio again, and there's a couple states that I'm not sure about, but I don't know. Wisconsin, I would think he would carry. Minnesota, he's in play, but I doubt he'll win that one. So those were, I guess, and then of course the Rust Belt states, he's doing pretty good. So I've watched several boards here lately that show several different paths for him, but he's got to win Florida. That's pretty much. Well, there is one path a couple paths he can win without Florida, but it's really hard. He's got to take Florida, which I believe he will. They got Republican.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I'm far away. I'm in Brazil, so I will not feel much of the heat in case that he changes, that the government changes. So,
well, the problem will be is if not so much if the Democrats get in control for you guys, we'll experience a lot of negativity. But if the dollar bottoms out, crashes out, that's going to be felt globally. You know what I mean? And I mean,
our currency here in Brazil already has hit us hard. It has lost in the beginning of 2017, $1 was R$2.10. Today it is 5.60.
Oh wow! See, yeah, I watched a video today, and somebody was talking about they were talking about something different, but it hit me hard because they were talking about the about currency. This could happen, you know what I mean? They're kind of warning us of it, not necessarily just even in the next few months or even the next couple of years, but it's gonna come eventually. The dollar is gonna bottom out, and the Fed may take over, and they're gonna try to move us over to like some kind of system to where you're getting your money directly deposited, so everything's kind of on a cashless base. You know what I mean? They want to do that anyway, so they can tax everything. But
I don't know how that will happen. What I know is that all the central banks, they are privately owned, and I mean the euro, they have so flooded the
Oh yeah.
With so much money, you know, they just print money. And
Well, that's what we're doing here. We're printing money and printing money, and then let's say the Fed steps in. They're not even, the Fed's like their own entity. And if they print a bunch of money and give out, let's say they give everybody $20,000 or something like that. I don't know. They're going to start saying, let's give everybody a set income a year or something. I don't know, something crazy like that. Just to say, well, people that's worked hard like me, I've worked really hard the last 4 or 5 years, and I've saved every penny I have so that, like, because I've sacrificed a lot. So I went in the future that I can have a better life and I can do some things that I wanted to do. And it's going to suck if that happens, because in the money cash I've saved is going to be worth like half or a quarter what it's worth now. So I'm thinking about buying, putting a little money into some either silver or gold, actually, something that's pretty much guaranteed to hold its value at least.
Well, the problem is that gold is not, it is not guaranteed by the quantity of gold. It's like a stock paper. You know?
Yeah, I would own. Yeah, see, our money's not backed by gold. It's the gold that they claims there is not there. We have a lot of gold, but not nearly what they say. I'm talking about actually buying gold or silver, actually buying the actual coins and putting them up.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that that will not change the value, the variation of the value of gold, because it is not bound to the quantity of physical gold that is on the market. It is like the US dollar, which was until 1913, it was guaranteed by gold. After that, when the Federal Reserve was privatized, then they started to print money without backing it up. And with gold, they have made the same thing. So, I mean,
but if you have physical gold, I mean, granted, albeit you're going to have to be careful about how you go about exchanging it in. But I mean, like, it should still hold value. You know what I mean? Because when everything else falls apart, you know, or even if you don't, let's say you don't want to get gold, buy things that are going to be worth value. You know what I mean? That are going to hold their value. And, you know, I would say something like even food, but I mean, food's a perishable item, but I mean, it's a poor example, but you know, something that's going to hold its value that you can use and not just have your money in cash, because, or not all your money, maybe have some of your money in something else. So at least you have, because I'm really scared that's going to happen, man. If that happens, and you know, people that's worked hard and saved and put stuff back, they're going to have overnight, man. They're just going to be wiped out. Unless you're like part of the uber rich, you know what I mean? You've got millions, and then that's not going to affect you hard, because if your money's worth like 1/10, you're still doing pretty good, you know. But
yeah, I don't really know how it will develop. I mean, also with that COVID crisis, we don't know where it will go, how it will affect the world economy. Also in regards of inflation and the value of money. We don't know it, but it is really a concern. I mean, where I live, the Brazilian real is already dived, you know, and it is very bad. Everything is more expensive here. And I don't know how it will be in the US and in Europe. And
well, right now it's not, but it's going to hit. I mean, it's got to, you know what I mean? And especially when if I don't think we'll be able to, I mean, I don't think we're going to even have any intentions of actually paying back the money, but we'll have to pay on the interest of what we owe. Now, I think Russia is one of the few places that actually is actually, you know, getting away from completely from the dollar. You know what I mean? Because China is too, of course, but yeah, the dollar used to be like pretty much the gold standard, I guess you would say. Yeah, I would say the gold standard, you know, for the longest time, especially like when I was growing up. But not so more, man. I wouldn't put a lot of faith in it.
I mean, you see that the public debt is only increasing, but nobody's paying it back. So who is the owner of that money, you know?
Exactly.
Of course, it's the central banks which just are printing money, you know.
Well, that's what will happen if the Fed just steps in and starts to get out and print money, give out money, or like because they're their own entity. They're going to put the banks out of business, man. You know what I mean? Your small banks around here are going to be gone, and then you know that's getting a little bit into conspiracy land. But 10 years ago, you know, a lot of these people that were sounding the red flags are looking a little bit more like they're 10 full hats back then, but maybe not so much now. But go ahead. I'm sorry. What was you saying, Untouchable? I'll touch you off there. I apologize.
No. I mean, it is really a concern. We don't know what the future will hold in regards of the stability of the world economy. But I honestly, I think that we are still far from having a real cashless society. We are going into that direction. We see
Oh,
that.
yeah,
We
quickly.
see that the technology is being developed, like the microchips, which and also stores which you don't have employees. They are fully working like fully automated. You can go there, and there are many cameras which check what you are putting into the cart. And when you arrive at the cashier, there is no one there. You just pass through, and they just discount what you bought directly from your bank account. And I think Amazon is very, very advanced with this technology. Now, until this is worldwide applied, it will take a long time, I guess. I don't think it will be something in very short time. But in order to have a real cashless society in the 100% no money, just with chips and so forth and cards, that will still take several decades, I think. So I don't think we are so close.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I definitely think we're still years away from it. Okay, I don't know about decades, but I would have for sure agree we're probably at least maybe a decade away from it here. But they're making some great strides, man.
Yeah, of course they need to cheapen the technology in order for every shop which with a few $1,000s you can implement the system and have total control of it, you know. But to implement this worldwide, it will take some time, I guess. So, in order to have really that scenario which is described in the Bible, it is not so imminent, I think.
Right. Well,
we are in the direction. We are heading towards that, but
Mhm.
it will take some time yet.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think what they're doing is condition us because, like, let's say, I don't know how it is where you're at, but this was something weird that happened here where I live. When the virus hit, not very long after, my local Walmart, which, of course, we here in America, we use Walmart's pretty much everyone goes to middle class, and that's just like your staple place to go to get a lot of your things. But they started saying, a lot of places were saying they were having a coin shortage. And so they only have 1 or 2 aisles open, 3 at max on even a busy day that would take cash. But all these other aisles are open if you would use your cards. Okay. So they would make you stand this long line if you wanted to pay cash. So, I mean, just making it like impossible. You know what I mean? You sit there an hour to pay cash. But now, of course, it's not as bad now. You still have to wait like 20 minutes to sit there. There's usually 4 or 5 people in front of you. But they haven't changed it. And they said it was a shortage of coins. But how could there be a shortage of coins? Everything else is pretty much back to running. Are they? Do they not have any reserve? Enough. To release them the stock if they're low. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. So I think they're doing what you're saying. They're conditioning us slowly to push us, but not all at one time. Because, like you said, it'd be hard to do it all at one time because for various reasons. But they're conditioning us for it. Is what I think.
Yeah, you see that China is very advanced. They have some states like where the Uyghurs are the Muslim
Yes.
Chinese, and they have. I think in China there are more public cameras installed than people that live in China.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in every corner on the streets there are surveillance cameras. So they're very advanced, and they have face recognition cameras, so they know who is walking on the street. So this is already George Orwell, 1984.
Yeah, 84 all the way. Yeah, they in the
very
places
advanced.
they don't have cameras, they have drones. And you know what? Here in America, like I said, for example, Walmart this last year, they went through there when they put in. They've got a pickup system now, and you can call and they'll bring stuff out. They just put in this big thing. It's like a big, huge thing that'll hold a bunch of items so that you can order it, and then you can come in and it'll come down to you. But it's wild. But they put in when they did that, they ripped off. They weren't that old either. They ripped out all the ones you go in and you could just pay. You scan the items yourself and you pay yourself with cash or card. They pulled all those out and they put in all face recognition. And I asked them about it because I'm always curious when I see stuff like that. And they said it was basically for security measures that with people that would steal or whatever, they could recognize them instantly and they would not be able to come in there again and stuff like that. But I don't know, because see, Walmart is a place where a lot of people go, and if they wanted to track people or find somebody pretty quickly, that would be a way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what we see also is the tendency that people, they are just ordering things online, even
Yes,
things
sir.
that you usually buy in the supermarket. Like very recently now, my wife, she has an app, and you don't spend time. You can just order what you need for the household on the app, and we spend less than $1 for delivery, and it is very comfortable because you do not have to spend time to go to the supermarket by car, but you have everything delivered in about 2 hours at home. So that is very comfortable and very advantageous. Now, of course, when you do any transaction through the internet or through an app, they can control it, and they know exactly your move, what you are doing, what you're spending. So we are really getting transparent. We are basically whatever we do on the internet, they can store the information, and so we are becoming transparent for the state.
Yeah, I agree, and it's in some respects it's nice because, like you were talking about, I got a set of I had to put brakes and rotors on my vehicle, and I mean I got a whole set of brakes and rotors front and back for $100. I mean, delivered to my house. You know what I mean? I didn't even have to leave. And that was like half the price as if I would have got it at the local parts store and went up there. So more than half the price, probably a third of the price. But yeah, it was nice to have that. But like you said, it's everything's recorded, and if you want to have like even PayPal, they've got to directly link that to your bank account. You can't really, I guess you could go with the Bitcoin route. A lot of people do, but I don't. I would be scared myself to put a lot into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, what we have to hope is that Christ comes before the 7 years described in Revelation, because otherwise they will really test us, and they will implement the 666, and either you bow to the Antichrist, or you will not be able to buy and sell anything, and that will be terrible. And so either you die or you bow to the Antichrist, and if you bow to the Antichrist, you go to hell. So we really have to hope that we are not living in that generation, and that Christ comes before the 7 year starts.
Yes, sir. And I tell people too, whether you're because a lot of people are pre-trib or post-trib, and I tell people that they're going to set this up. It's not going to be overnight, like we were just talking about. So, like, don't think that you're not, even if you're not going to be around. Okay, let's say you're raptured out. You're still going to go through the pains of the actual birth pains in the negative way, because the false Christ, the pseudo Christo, he's basically going to come do what Jesus did in reverse, or not really in reverse, but in a false way. You know what I mean? So there are going to be pains leading up to that, and we're experiencing, I believe, some of them now. And it's going to get worse.
Well, some indication that we are not yet there is, for example, that the war described in Hezekiel, Prophet Hezekiel in the Old Testament, if I'm not wrong, he talks about Armageddon. And that is a war between the north, which is Russia, and Israel. And the interpretation is that war will happen before the 7 years of small and big tribulation. So that war hasn't happened yet, and the Bible says as well that all the tribes in the whole world will be reached with the gospel, and this is far from yet the situation.
Yes, and that's why when a lot of people talk, the end is near. The Bible it says no man knows the day and the hour, but there are signs. You can know the signs. You know what I mean? The seasons, and like you said, the things to look out for. I don't know how you feel about the third temple being rebuilt, but there's a lot of double prophecies that are fulfilled in the Bible, and I think that's a double prophecy that's going to be fulfilled. Of course, Christ was the temple that was risen back up, but also I think in days, because Christ warns us, where you see when you see the abomination of desolation where it ought not be. I think that the third temple will be rebuilt, and there's ample evidence for it already with the shekel of that Israel has made. Have you seen that shekel that with Donald Trump on one side and King Cyrus on the other?
No.
Yeah. Well, they've made that when he moved the capital. Actually, no, they made that. I believe in recognition of some stuff he did in the Golden. I don't want to give false information, but it was before he actually moved recognized the capital of Jerusalem, or moved their was he moved the embassy back to Jerusalem? Is that not what he did?
Yeah, I think it was in Tel Aviv, and they moved it to Jerusalem.
Yeah, I want to get to
I'm
see
not wrong.
what they actually made that shekel for. But they think that he's kind of like, when I say typology of Jesus in the Old Testament, I think that they believe he's like a kind of a type of King Cyrus, because King Cyrus also recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Or I don't know if he moved. I'll have to get my facts right real quick before I say something false.
Yeah, I don't remember that. But you see, there are several things which have not happened yet. Also, the third temple, and I mean,
Exactly.
you see that when the 7-Day War happened in 1967, and when I converted myself in the 80s, then the books like talking about end time prophecies, they were very en vogue, and the claim that that was the last generation. And we see now that this kind of assertion has a little bit flawed. People don't talk anymore about that kind of thing with the expectation that we are the last generation. So I think that many things yet have to happen in order for seeing really the end times coming.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, of course, we live in the end times since Christ walked on the earth. Biblically speaking, we are living for 2,000 years in the end times. But if we are really at the end of the end, if it is 1 minute before 12, this is what I doubt, because many things yet have to happen.
Yeah, okay. And on the King Cyrus, he actually made a public declaration granting the Jews the right to return to Judah to rebuild the temple, so in Jerusalem. So and that's why they made the shekel. And if I can in a second, I'll share the screen, and I'll get you a picture of it.
That was that Medo-Persian reign after the Babylonian reign, when they permitted after 70 years the Jews to go back to Jerusalem. I think so.
Yeah, that's what it says right there on the site I was on. I wanted to get it's a half shekel. Let me get a picture of it here real quick if I can share it. I'll share screen. There's a nice little video on not on the shekel, but of a group of rabbis singing and chanting about wanting the temple rebuilt and wanting the Messiah to return. They're always singing that a lot. And
I mean, think about that. When the Moshe, which is there on the Temple Mountain, has to be imploded in order to construct the third temple. And when that will happen, it will be a major thing,
Oh, for sure.
I don't know what kind of forces of the surrounding nations, especially in the Muslim world, will be unravel, But of course, that will be a big thing,
Yeah, let me blow this. Whoops, did I lose it? No, there it is. Let me try to widen this out here. Okay, you see that coin?
Yeah.
That shekel, excuse me. That has already been made. It's been waiting for quite a while now. And of course, you have to have the shekel to go. They use the shekel to go to the temple when they did their sacrifices and whatnot.
$150. That's quite expensive, huh?
Yeah. I'll go back there and let you see the. Yes, it's 150 on that one. They have different ones, but they have shekel and here's one for $59.
So
but
that is a collector coin.
Yes, but they're actually it's not. They didn't just commemorate one. They've made a bunch of them. So I think they're actually. I don't know. I mean, I think they really think that they're going to get this temple off the ground soon.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find if I had shown where they made a bunch of them. Well, they minted at one, but I read somewhere else where they actually made. Of course, his son in law, Jared Kushner, is he's Jewish, and so his daughter married into a Jewish family. So there's a lot of ties there, and I really think Trump's going to pull it out and get his second term. I just think he'll get it. I think it'll be very close. It's going to be contested, and we won't know the night of the election, and it's going to drag out. But I really think he'll pull it out, and then I don't know what's going to happen after that. But I think he'll get it because I think the silent majority, there is enough people there, because a lot of people will vote their pocketbook when it comes down to it, about who they think has a better chance of getting our economy back on track. Because I think a lot of people see this virus is probably going to have a vaccination. If not a vaccination, going to have enough therapeutics where it's not going to be such a big thing, a big scare anymore. And they're seeing maybe the light at the end of the tunnel, in my opinion. So, yeah, maybe he didn't handle it the best way he could have, which I think he handled it pretty good, considering that you had Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi calling for people to call. Well, Joe Biden called him as xenophobic, and there were a lot of governors too in different Democratic areas saying that it was okay to that Trump was blown out of proportion, or it's okay to come to these areas. Let's come out and not be scared by it or whatever. And Trump was quick to act and shut down our borders. So, it no doubt saved lives. It's hard to quantify that, but I mean, think about if he would have waited 2 months to shut it. Like, let's say when Nancy Pelosi was saying come to Chinatown late February, if he would have waited till late February to shut the borders, just imagine how fast that virus would have spread. So he did the right thing, and they won't give him credit for that at all.
Yeah. Well, they are always opposing whatever he does because they want the power. That is well known. So
Nicholas, no, I'm not trying to predict the future at all. I'm just saying that I'm actually against that. I'm totally I'm totally anti that. I don't sit around and look at videos ever like thinking when the end time's going to come. I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? I just, when I see stuff like that, you know what I mean, and then I read my Bible and stuff, things that correspond and correlate, then it piques my ears or my interest. But I'm not thinking it's going to happen. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that it is for all three of the Abrahamic religions. They need that third temple to be rebuilt in order for if their prophecy is going to be true. In my opinion, that's in my opinion. So I don't know. I think it'll be rebuilt.
That is pretty clear in Revelation that the Antichrist will sit in the temple in Jerusalem and declare that he is God. So I think that it should be rather uncontroversial that will happen.
I wanted to find the video. I wish I would have saved it. It's actually even more shows how eager they are in Jerusalem, at least, to build that third temple. Okay, whether you believe it's going to be rebuilt or just how eager the rabbis are.
Sure.
To have that third temple rebuilt, because they still think Jesus needs to come, or the Messiah needs to come. They missed them, of course, but they're blinded right now. But
well, they will accept probably the Antichrist and declare the Antichrist as Christ, I suppose.
Yeah. Let me see if I can do it off this real quick. If I can't. I've had too many videos in my history. It's been too long, but I might be able to remember what video it was. But yeah, no, I agree on that. That they will, for sure, the Muslims will, because the Muslims are going to believe the Antichrist is, there is the true God. You know what I mean? So they're going to be really confused when they've got their religion is so false. It's sad that they're indoctrinated, most of them, because their actual religion predicts that there will be a lot of apostatizing going on, and it is right now. It's happening, and that's what leading them to believe that, you know, it's the end times for them, because it's going on. Because when you give a Muslim a chance, an open-minded Muslim a chance to look at the evidence, because, you know, they said the Quran is perfect, you know what I mean? But there's so many versions, and there's so many ways to show it's not perfect. And let me just try this one thing. Go ahead there, Antonio. Sorry. On that video. Yeah, here we go. Let me see if I can't share this one. Let me go back there and undo that one, and then we can stop freaking Nicholas out. I'm just teasing Nicholas. Let me stop that one, because I got to turn the audio on here. Do one last one. It's only like a 2-minute video, if that. I think I got that in Chrome. Bing. Share audio. I always forget to click that share audio. Okay, I got it. There we go. I'll turn my volume up, and that should be coming through to you now. Okay, wait. Can you hear can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, this might be it. I hope this is the one I'm thinking of.
Want to tell the Rebbe the words of the new song that we're singing with Mashiach, right? So I'm just going to read them. Am Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Okay?
This is a song. This is an old song, but the video I'm talking about is they were singing that with the shekel. But I'll let you listen to the song anyway. So.
We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. Oh yeah, I'm Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be this year. I'm Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be this year. We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now.
We're back here.
We don't want to wait. I'm Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be here this year. Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now.
Okay, yeah, you get the point there, but I didn't get to quite find the video that I wanted to. That had a recent one. I didn't realize that was an old one. I thought that was a new one. But here's see if I find one. Well, I'll have to look for it later. I don't want to take up your stream here at Antangelo. But anyways, you see that they're pretty you know, they're set on getting that temple rebuilt, because they know that they need that temple rebuilt for the Messiah to come. So they're all over it. in their religion. So
yeah. Chris, I think I will close this stream. It's late here. It's already almost 20 to 1 in the morning. And yeah, I want to thank you for coming to have this chat tonight.
Thank you for having me and playing what you did earlier. It was great to listen to.
And see you next time.
Yeah, have a good one, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night to the chat. I might open up a live stream here in just a little bit if no one else does. But good night, Antajo. Thanks for having me.
Well, if you want to wait, if someone wants to come in and join you, I will just leave the stream open. But
well, I mean, I can open one. Well, I mean, if anybody's interested in discussing anything like night, I'll probably just open one. I'll just real quick, I'll put my channel in the comment section. and then
Okay.
Sorry, apologize. I accidentally booted myself.
Yeah. Do you want to put the link in the
Yeah, I
chat?
was trying to copy my link here, and I accidentally closed
Okay.
it out. I didn't mean to. See the best way to do this. I did it real quick on my phone, but it's a little bit harder on my computer. Should already have it saved here. I apologize. I'm gonna come over and do it from my phone real fast. I'm gonna put it in my chat from in the phone real fast. It'll be a lot easier for me too. But you can go ahead, and I'll just. Well, you're fixing to go to bed right now. Let me get it. I'm copying it right now.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'll exit out. Or I'll leave the studio, and then you can shut down within a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Thank you all, Tangelo. I really
Okay.
appreciate it. Have a good
Bye-bye.
night. God bless.
Yeah. Good night. Thank you. Bye.